Barry and Lisa Power live a comfortable life in the suburbs of St. Louis. With their new son Brian, it's a struggle to find free time. But just 5 years ago, Barry was fighting to stay alive.
We were just up there for business and just a regular, I wasn't too long with the company. I believe I was with the company just for about a year. And yeah, so no, I was still pretty green when it came to New York City and real excited and stuff, so.
Barry is a broker with the firm Morgan Stanley. On September 11, 2001, he was at the company's world headquarters in New York for a training seminar. He was on the 61st floor of the World Trade Center's South Tower. At 8:46 New York time, he was on a coffee break when American Airlines Flight 11 plunged into the North Tower.
I can remember like a lot of paper, and I looked down, you know, out into the sky, and there's a lot of paper and you know, stuff falling from the sky, and it was kind of real strange. And then I looked down to the ground, and there was huge, you know, fire pits, just probably about, I'd say about 10 or 15, you know, small fires on the tops of, you know, these smaller buildings, and it was just, you know, I didn't put anything together at the time.
They heard the explosion and saw the debris, but Barry and his co-workers couldn't see what had happened. Their office windows faced away from the North Tower. They were urged to stay at their desk, but a voice in the crowd convinced Barry to leave.
I remember one of the guys from New York, Phil Roth, he was one of the seminar leaders, and I remember him saying that he had been in the Trade Center in '93, and you know, it's best that we all go out. And so I kind of remember, you know, okay, if one of the senior guys is getting out, I mean, I guess it's something that we should do, is just, you know, follow along. And I just made my way, you know, to the stairwells.
As the North Tower burned, Barry began his descent from the 61st floor. Hundreds of people crammed into the narrow stairwells to inch their way to the street. A voice on the PA system urged them to stay calm and return to their desks. At 9:03, the PA went silent.
I remember exactly what it felt like when it hit. I mean, it was, I was down on the base of one of the stairwells, and, you know, of course there was people all up on the stairs, and when the crash happened, I mean, these people on the stairs, I mean, you just automatically turtle, and these people on the stairs basically just were jolted and airborne for like a split second. And then it was just like, you know, this settling, and the building just, I remember just the building was just moving. It was just oscillating, just vibrating. And I mean, it was the scariest feeling.
Lisa was back in St. Louis. She was getting ready for work when she heard a radio report of an accident at the World Trade Center.
So I turned on CNN, and I'm watching it, and it was the North Tower got hit, and saw the smoke and the debris and things. I was like, wow, you know, is this a movie? You know, it was really unreal, like it wasn't even happening. And then I saw the commercial airline hit the South Tower.
I think we have a terrorist act of proportions that we cannot begin to imagine at this time.
And at that point, I remembered just my heart sank, because I knew Barry was in the tower.
Barry grew up in Mount Pearl, Lisa in the East End of St. John's. They got engaged in 1999. And on 9/11, they had been married for less than 2 weeks. Their honeymoon was postponed, so Barry could make this trip.
It was a sense of fear of losing my husband, of all those future plans and everything just kind of flash in front of your eyes of, you know, am I going to lose him after 12 days? You know, we've been together, got together in '98, so it was only a few years, and your whole life kind of flashes there of whether or not, where's my future going to take me?
Lisa stared at the television, watching the towers die. Inside the stairwell, the air was thick with smoke and dust.
I didn't think I was going to, you know, burn to death or anything. I thought I was going to suffocate, because it got to a point like where nobody was moving and people were just screaming, and you know, I had trouble breathing, and I I don't know, I'd never felt like that before, and it was just like, you know, it was kind of, I didn't have my breath, and it was just, you know, I thought that was it. I really did.
As Barry pushed his way down, Lisa called everyone she could, hoping for a sign of life.
Trying to find out if I could find, if anyone heard from him, because I wasn't, you know, I wasn't 100% sure where he was. You know, I didn't know he was on the 61st floor. I just knew that he was in the building somewhere. Didn't know if he was on the 100th floor, if he was on the 10th floor.
As Lisa scrambled for information, Barry inched closer to the ground.
Down around 15 or the 15th or 20th floor, that's when, you know, just one after the other, you know, these firemen were just pushing their way, I mean, heads down, you know, just pushing their way up, and, you know, they were going up into this, and I was just like, man, that's just, that's brave, because I just, you know, I wouldn't be able to do that. I don't think. That was just a scary situation to be going into. We just wanted to get out of there. So, yeah, that'll stay with me.
After what seemed like hours, Barry did get out. It was about 40 minutes after the South Tower was hit. He rushed into the chaotic streets of Ground Zero.
There was several, you know, bodies I remember seeing that didn't look like bodies. I mean, it was that's real. It's difficult to talk about, but I'll just never forget that. I mean, it was right there in front of you, and you know, it was just it was right there, and I just have a hard time dealing with that. You know, it was right there in front of us.
Barry ran as fast as he could, heading away from the destruction. Just minutes later, at 9:59 a.m., the South Tower collapsed.
Everything started rattling. I mean, it didn't matter where you were, and then, you know, you look back, and then, I mean, the building fell down. I mean, these things are just huge, and you look back, and it's like, you know, it just came down. It's, you know, see the thing come down just like everybody else did, and it was just like, you know, it just really, you know, hit home, like, you know, how lucky I was. I was just like, wow, you know, it's just, wow.
Lisa watched the tower collapse live on television. She had no idea Barry had made it out.
It was indescribable. It was something that, knowing that my husband was there, it was a sense of, sadness, I guess. It was just overwhelming. It was unbelievable. I guess that's the best word to describe it. And then I was there alone in St. Louis. I was optimistic for a good, I guess, a couple of hours. And then the time passed, and I started thinking, I'm like, maybe I'll never see him again. So.
Barry searched the aftermath for a working phone, desperate to reach his wife, his family, anyone at all.
The reports were that thousands of people had just died, and I said, you know, this is something I need to start, you know, getting in contact with people, and there was no phones working, none, like anywhere.
Finally, Barry found a dial tone amongst the ruin and was able to leave a brief message at Lisa's office. Because she didn't go to work, Lisa didn't get the message until that afternoon, 4 hours after she watched Flight 175 smash into the South Tower.
And at that point, I heard the message that he had left. So around, I think, it was a good several hours after the building collapsed that I checked my messages and found out that there was a message left from Barry saying that it was very brief. It was just, I'm on the street, I'm running, I'm okay. And that was it.
Shortly after, Barry's brother Brian arrived in St. Louis from Kansas. They finally spoke to Barry, and Lisa decided to drive to New York the next day to get her husband.
The numerous emotions that were going through that day, I mean, it wore you out. I mean, I didn't really know how to react. I didn't know how to think. It was just, so driving that day wouldn't have made sense. I know that myself and Brian went and rented a movie that night and watched it to turn off the media, to try to take our minds off it. And, you know, spoke to Barry. one other time that evening, and then tried to get some sleep. I think I fell asleep on the couch. And then the next morning we decided to drive to New York.
The reunion finally came across the river in Hoboken, New Jersey, on the street outside of a friend's apartment.
We pulled up as close as we could, and then I just got out of the car, and we met on the street.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And I said, Barry, I'm a block down. I'm getting out, you know, because it probably would have taken another 15 minutes to try to find a parking spot. And he met me down on the street, and just gave each other a big hug and a kiss. So.
Good. Now follow Sensei, okay?
When we return, living in America in the age of terror and trying to bring a piece of home to the American Midwest.
Good. Big circle around the dojo. Quickly.
Okay, who's going?
This is a common sight in St. Louis. Barry and Lisa Power surrounded by family, carrying on the traditions of home.
The king.
The king. That's right.
But 5 years ago on 9/11, Barry's family was scattered across North America. His younger brother Brian is a geologist. Brian was 4 hours away in rural Kansas on 9/11 when Lisa left a message on his cell phone.
So it was Lisa. She was on the phone. She was pretty upset. She was, your brother, or she was like, Barry is, he's gone. The trade center got hit, and then click, the phone died. So I was like, whoa, pretty shocked.
Barry's oldest brother Daryl was on the highway outside Toronto when he got a call from his mother that he will never forget.
Hearing Mom say the words that Barry was actually in the tower when I thought that he was in St. Louis that day, it was just like the world came to a screeching halt, and it was overwhelming to me, and I'll never forget that feeling of, yeah, that was a bad day.
But if there is a silver lining in the black cloud of 9/11, it was the impact it had on the Power family. A tragedy that almost tore the family apart has brought them closer together.
You know, growing up, especially younger, you're like, oh, I can't wait to get older, move up, move away, get a job, and, you know, see the world. So as you get older, you realize you want to be closer to family. And when you nearly lose one, you want to get back.
Oh, in 1 point at the end of your technique. Everybody understand? Just be very
Since that day,
relaxed,
Barry,
drive
Brian,
for the
and
front,
Daryl do
okay?
almost everything
Just
together.
relax.
They run a successful karate school. All three have black belts, and they compete together and are the reigning U.S. champions in team karate. 9/11 changed all of them, but as the one closest to the tragedy, Barry's life has changed the most.
I just don't take anything for granted anymore. I mean, whatever, you know, I'm more focused now because basically I almost died that day. So I kind of, with my job and with, you know, my karate and my family, I mean, I just want to be real focused because you don't know how much time you got left. I mean, it just really changed the way I look at things, and, you know, I'm a little bit more serious than I was, of course, at, you know, 25 years old.
Life is precious, and you don't know when your time is up, or, you know, when's the next time you're going to see each other. So we try, always make a pact never to leave the house angry, never to have a fight before you leave, things like that. Just because I don't want to be my last words to him to be an argument.
So we got 300 shares at 64 here, and the stock is up over.
There is still the routine of work and family.
I got Carl and my three up front. We're good.
But all of them have to adjust to living in a country at war in Iraq, and to living in a country that is on constant terror alert. While at the same time, Barry and Lisa have to raise their son Brian in what's often called the new normal.
With the new society that we're growing up in, he'll definitely have the same childhood. I want to keep it, to have him to have the same childhood as I had growing up. You know, taking family vacations and not being afraid to fly, nothing like that. I don't want to instill any of the fears and anxiety that, you know, we just lived through. But he will grow up what will be different is that he will have a heightened sense of security and awareness of the issues that are facing the country. We're now, with Homeland Security, you just need to be ready for him. You need to be prepared for him. And I know that's ever since 9/11, that's something that, you know, we have an emergency plan in place. So if our infrastructure goes down here in St. Louis, we know where to meet. And we meet, we group as a family, and we move from there. I mean, you kind of have to think about that right now.
Hey. Busted.
What are you doing, my?
Despite the anxiety, they've carved out a comfortable life here in St. Louis. But the Power clan is large and is now spread across Western Canada and Europe. And 9/11 has led to a push for a permanent family reunion in the American Midwest.
And from that moment on, we knew we had to be together, and we were our own support unit. You know, they're the only people you can trust wholeheartedly to do the right thing and you know, be there for you. So it's the reason that we all ended up here in St. Louis, and you know, we're trying to get the whole family together here, and you know, just be next door neighbors right here. You know, if we had our choice, we'd be all home in Newfoundland doing this. That'd be our #1 option. But to really prosper the way that we want to and build lives, we're going to try to build a little Newfoundland right here.
None of them take anything for granted anymore. After what they've been through, even a simple game of 120s has a much deeper meaning. David Cochran, CBC News, St. Louis, Missouri.
Wow. What did you go on?